Hey guys, this month's newsletter is all about the phrase marry the home and date the interest rate. So, this is a commonly used strategy right now for a lot of home buyers, and it focuses on the idea of finding the perfect home for you, regardless of the interest rates. Especially when they're higher, we typically see this strategy used a lot. And you purchase the home in hopes that in the future the interest rates will drop and that you can refinance it. So, if you're able to find a home that ticks all of your boxes, you plan to be in that home long term. And if you can afford it, go ahead and buy the home and wait for those interest rates to drop, thus lowering your mortgage payments each month. The one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, though, is while this might be sound advice for some, it's not the most sound advice for others. It's not a one size fits all, and it's really case by case situation on where you are in your financial situation and if it makes the most sense for you to buy. So I wanted to go over this month, when it might be sound advice for you to use and when it might not be the best advice for you to go ahead and marry the home and date the interest rate. So with that being said, when might it be a smart decision? So, the first place to start is looking at your finances. If you are to get pre approved and you know how much you can afford, if that mortgage payment works for you and you can afford to buy that dream home that you're looking at, regardless of if interest rates drop in the future, you're always going to be able to afford that mortgage payment with no problems. It's not going to draw you too thin financially each month. Then hey, yeah, maybe it might make sense for you to purchase a home and hope that, if they do drop, you're going to be able to get some of that money back in the future. It also makes sense to follow this method when you plan on being in a home 10 years, somewhere in that range or more. The longer you plan to be in that home, this advice is a little more sound if you plan to be there longer. Whereas if you only plan to be there for 1, 2, or 3 years, those interest rates might not drop that much over that 3 year span. And it might not be the best idea for you to purchase at that time if you're only going to be in there short term. So, due to, rates being higher with the buyer pool tending to be smaller as well, it might make sense for you to get in that home, purchase it. You might be able to get it at or below listing price because a lot of buyers aren't out there with the higher rates, and you might be able to get it below market value. So while you might be paying a higher interest rate, you also got the home at a lower price, which kind of balances things out. So in that case, it might be really sound advice for you to go ahead and purchase that home, even though rates are higher. On the flip side of that, the strategy is not the best approach in a really busy market. If you're already paying over asking price for a home and you're trying to, buy a home and hope that rates will drop, chances are those rates aren't going to continue dropping in a super, super busy market. Competition tends to raise the prices of those homes. So if you're already paying a high interest rate and now you're paying 10, 15, $20,000 plus over the asking price, you're really going to draw yourself thin financially, and it can really affect your purchasing power as well. And if you plan to be in that home short term, maybe you should just hold off on purchasing and wait to see if those interest rates drop to a level that makes a little bit more sense for you. I also wouldn't recommend this for anybody that is purchasing a home with the idea in mind that I'm going to buy this, but I know in a year or two those interest rates might drop. The reason I wouldn't do that is the interest rates in the market is so extremely unpredictable. Right now we're at 8%, which is higher than we've seen for 20 years. And I remember a year ago, they were saying, rates will drop by this time this year. Maybe we'll be at 6%. Maybe we'll be back in the fives, maybe the fours. And that's just not where we are. It's been completely different from anything a lot of us imagined would be towards the end of this year. And looking forward into the future, there's just no telling when those rates will drop, how quickly they will drop, and when it will get back to, what we saw before or if it ever will. So I wouldn't purchase a home with interest rates dropping in mind. I would purchase a home knowing that you can always afford the interest rate that you're at. And if they do drop, great, you're going to get some money back and your mortgage payments will be lower as well. But always, purchasing within your means and what you can afford going forward, and knowing that if anything changes or if nothing changes, I'll always be able to afford that monthly payment. So just some food for thought. I know for a lot of people right now, they're in a weird spot of, should I be purchasing? Should I not be purchasing? What should I do? especially with the higher rates. Personally, for me, last month I actually purchased my first home, although the rates were higher, I think it made sense for me in my current situation to purchase a home and get ahead of that curve rather than getting, a few months down the line maybe, or maybe a year down the line when there's a busier market and having to pay over asking price. I was able to get my home $20,000 below asking price. And although the rates are higher, I think it was a good trade-off for how much we had to pay for the home. Hopefully in the future rates will drop, but that remains to be seen. So thank you guys for tuning in this month. Sorry for the late video and getting it out so late for you, but have a happy Halloween. And we'll talk to you guys soon. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and I'd be glad to help. Peace.